Ace Podcast.
A bunch of folks saw him from the window. The man there at your car. He was standing there at your car, sniffing that laundry. Holding big handfuls of it under his nose. Looked like he was liking it, too.
Hey guys, this is the Blood and Black Rum podcast. I'm Ryan from themoonisadeadworld.net, and I'm joined with my co-host Martin.
How's it going?
He's here every week.
Haven't missed a show yet.
Kind of part of the whole show. So, and we are finishing up our 90s slasher month with a slasher film that's not from the 90s. It's actually from the early 2000s, 2001. And the reason that we're kind of throwing this in as a bonus episode is because it does mesh, even though it doesn't seem like it because it's not part of that decade, it does mesh with our nostalgic view of slasher films. Because we've been covering a lot of the late 90s for our slasher month. And this film feels like it's right within that spectrum. Like it's one that we come back to. You saw it like around that time,
right when it came
very
out.
Close to the time it came out. And so even though it's not a 90s slasher movie, we're including it in the month anyway as a special bonus episode in kind of notating it as an OO's slasher film.
It's a good gap and bridge between the boom of the late 90s slasher films and then the horror porn that would soon,
Yeah, because
torture porn that would soon follow.
yeah,
so.
torture porn is right around the corner where you're getting ready for it here. And then it is a good segue, you're right, because with a lot of the other films that were coming out in the 2000s, there's not really like a huge amount of slasher films coming out at the time. So this is kind of like a holdover. This is, this film is, sort of, it seems like it could be a late 90s slasher film. Even though that a lot of like this sort of 90s style and music and things like that's not present in this film.
No.
You can still see the inspiration from it and the effect that had on this film. So obviously we're talking about drum roll. If you've seen the pictures that I've been releasing, you probably know what it is already. But we're talking about Jeepers Creepers. The 2001 Victor Salva film started a whole big thing, I guess. It spawned a sequel. The sequel is not nearly as good as the first film. But it's actually, we're coming up on, Victor Salva's been working on a third film for quite a while now.
It's coming out in September.
Yep, and it's coming out very soon, so we're kind of timely on this.
I'm actually kind of looking forward to it.
You want to see it and see what's going on with it. He's had a long time to kind of think about things and figure out where to go with it. So,
just imagine him for like a decade just sitting in like a office space, like a typewriter and like a notepad and pen and paper, and just like writing an idea. He's like, no, that won't work, and like crumple it up and throw it away.
I mean, I think he's had the idea for quite a while. I mean, maybe he's. It's probably been budding since the original Jeepers Creepers, I believe, and I think there was always a plan to do a third one at the time, and it just didn't pan out.
Because Jeepers Creepers 2 sucked.
Yeah, Jeepers Creepers 2 really didn't take off, even though Ray Wise is in it. I don't know why, but it didn't take off. But I think that there is some excitement for Jeepers Creepers 3, and then you also have the other side of cinema fans who are very much opposed to Victor Salva making any sort of film. So, and I think even when Jeepers Creepers got re-released by Scream Factory, which was not that long ago. I think probably last October it was, or something like that, which I covered at the time. There's a huge, outlash against Scream Factory for even bothering to do this for Jeepers Creepers and Jeepers Creepers 2. Like, why restore these films when a lot of people don't even really see the merit of giving Victor Salva the opportunity to be in the limelight. So at this point, I think we're just going to touch on this briefly and say that, Victor Salva, convicted pedophile, certainly served time for his crime. And at that point, we kind of have to allow the law to play out how it's written, how it was pursued, and leave it at that. And, everybody should have the chance to pursue a life after they've served their time, whether it was what the public deems a satisfactory outcome or not. That was the law. That was the what happened with it. Nothing we can do to change it at this time. So at this point, that's all we're really going to address with the within the aspect of pedophilia and Victor Salva and his conviction. So I'm not really going to bring that up anymore. It doesn't really have any bearing on what we're going to talk about within the film itself. So just a little, warning or whatever that it's not going to come up again. And obviously we're going to
you just gotta think about it rationally. Like,
right.
Again, whether or not his 15 months in prison suited the crime or not, it's what he got. And
that was that's what happened.
Yeah.
That was he went to trial. There was a suit, and that's what happened.
And you can't really bar him from trying to make a living,
right?
Because when you do that, like, how a lot of applications when you apply, they ask if you're a convicted felon, and sometimes they'll bar you from even the position if you can't ever try to make a decent living,
right?
Even if you no matter what your crime was, then that's just setting people back up to
fail again and do whatever they were doing previously. So even if they really did attempt to change, so that's pretty much all we're going to touch on about that, and then we're going to talk the rest of the time about Jeepers Creepers the film itself, and also the beer that we're drinking, because we do have a new beer on tap for today. But first, before we get into the whole beer talk, we'll continue on the intro a little bit. I know you have fond memories of Jeepers Creepers.
Yeah, it's I saw it when I was right when it came out on VHS. I was at a friend's house. There's quite a few of us spending the night, and we got on VHS and got to watch it. Where one of our friends was hiding under his sleeping bag the entire time, pretending to be asleep because he's afraid. But I have fond memories because of that, and not only that, because Justin Long is such a absolute delight and treasure in this film.
Amazing. Giving it his all.
Yeah. I'm surprised he was nominated for Saturn Awards for Best New Actor, and we'll talk about more when we talk about more of the overall acting. But I'll just say this: his performance in this is a delight and a treasure. At least it is to me. I think.
Oh yeah, I mean it's everything that you would hope from a very exaggerated performance. It's amazing.
I can only imagine the direction he was given.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah.
But yeah, so it's definitely, I think out of all the movies we've done, I think the one I least had the fondest memories of or thinking about was I'm trying the Faculty probably.
Yeah.
Because Urban Legend, I know what you did last summer. This and
Halloween H2O.
Halloween H2O. I had pretty decent memory of Faculty. I had a decent memory of, but I mean I just didn't really even when I saw it when I was young, I just didn't think too much. I was like, oh yeah, whatever. But that's kind of which was great rewatching it because that was oh, that's got more merit to it than fucking I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Right.
I never thought I would think that.
That's true. Yeah.
But this what rewatching it is because it's probably the first time I've seen it in 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's nostalgia's worn off, but it's still got some delightful moments in it.
I think it's probably one of the better films that we've covered in the 90s slasher month. Obviously we'll talk about it a little bit more, compare those down the line as we get into deeper parts of the film. But I think it is, it does hold up since I've last seen it. Obviously I just saw it last October, but before that, like when I watched it in October, I hadn't seen it since, I don't know, like 5 or 6 years it had been probably. And I was pleasantly surprised at how well it held up and how enjoyable it was for what it is. Obviously, it's a pretty, at times, cheesy horror film. And the monster itself doesn't always work. But I was surprised at how much I enjoyed it, even despite some of its apparent flaws. So, pretty interesting, and we'll get into that specifically later on in the podcast, so stay tuned for that. But first, we're going to take a break. We're going to hear from one of our Ace Podcast members, and then we'll talk about the beer that we've got on the podcast tonight, because we do have a smattering of new stuff that we've never had on here before. So it's a little bit of a change up from what we normally cover. So stay tuned.
Don't be alarmed. The quasi-shimmering light before you is a trans-dimensional gateway to other worlds, other voices, other thoughts, and other realities. Up feels like down, and down feels like the number 7 on a Wednesday morning. Don't worry. That quivering, blood-boiling sensation under your eyebrows is all a part of the charm. Welcome to the PCC Multiverse.
Check out the PCC Multiverse today on the Ace Podcast Network.
All right, so we've got a new beer on the podcast today. Well, actually, I should say multiple new beers, because really we've had a couple tonight, trying to do the whole pack in one episode, I guess. I've never had this before, but I saw it at Walmart, and I decided to pick it up because the name didn't really register to me or anything else. The pack is Trouble Brewing Company. And it looked interesting. I got a picture of it from my wife, actually, who went to the store, and she's like, "What do you want?" She sent me a picture. I saw it on the shelf, didn't know what it was, asked what that was, and then ended up getting it, because it had a couple of interesting things, like a pale ale, an IPA, an amber ale, and then a Belgian white as well. Come to find out that you tell me, that's actually Walmart's craft beer line. Trouble Brewing Company is...
an air quote, that craft.
Right, exactly. That's their part of their craft beer lineup.
If you're not craving a Rockdale...
Yeah, that's right. You go for the Trouble Brewing Company. I did not know that. So, that kind of... It doesn't really taint my my feelings about Trouble Brewing Company, but it definitely... adds a different layer to how you perceive the beer once you know it's like a Walmart brand beer. But I think that from the standpoint of me having it, I had a few prior to learning that tidbit that it's a Walmart brand beer. It doesn't really change my feelings about it. They're not bad. I think they're pretty drinkable. They come in a can, and it comes in a 12-pack with 4 different beers in the pack. They're not bad. But at the same time, there's nothing that really stands out too much about them. They're just drinkable and kind of generic. So you had the pale ale today, which they called that the what was that called there? I can't even remember at this point. I know that
all I remember is the IPA name, because it's like Cat's
I think it was Rainy Day Pale Ale or something like that.
I'm checking my Untapped right now.
I had the Cat's Away IPA, which is not bad. It's pretty much a generic American pale ale, IPA, I mean. And it's not super hoppy, not really high on the bitterness. But it's not bad. I'll give it that.
Got a little watery taste. They all do, I'll say that. They got not like you're drinking like a Bud Light water, but you can tell like it's not
it's not
the malts and the hops in it are very pretty muted, because the pale ale, it's after party, by the way. I'll give it credit because most craft breweries have turned their pale ales into IPAs.
Right.
It's a pale ale, but at the same time, like it's just the malts on it are pretty muted, the hops are pretty muted, and it just tastes like a very just generic. I mean, it's drinkable, but it's just a very generic, just like
Right.
Well, this is something different. And I'll say the same thing about their Belgian White, which is the Round Midnight. It tastes like a, muted, watered down Belgian White. It's not bad. It's just like, alright. Get some little notes of wheat, a little slight fruitiness, from like the hops they use in it. But other than that, it's just there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I out of all of them, I would say I probably enjoyed the Pale Ale and the Red Flag Amber Ale the most, which is, the Red Flag is what I'm drinking right now. It's an amber ale, and they added a little bit of honey to it. I think it has a pretty good taste to it, but again, it doesn't have a huge flavor profile to it. It's very muted, and I think that's probably indicative of all of Trouble Brewing Company's beers. They just don't want to go too heavy on the flavors. And that, I don't know why, as a craft beer, they haven't, gotten into a more, like a heavier, more flavorful brew, but
it's probably cost and the fact that the people who are buying are probably some, people who are probably, trying something new. Like,
right.
They're like trying to explore outside of like the macro beers.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting
because I imagine most people who are into craft beer know that it's owned by Walmart, and probably by that fact alone, like, I'm not fucking buying that.
Right. I mean, I did not know it at the time, and I pretty much based my decision to purchase it on the fact that I hadn't had it before, and it was like one of the only things on the shelf that I hadn't had. So, I mean, I think it could have...
Doesn't help the beer selection in our Walmart. It's pretty...
Right, it wasn't that good.
Pretty pitiful.
Yeah, I mean, but I think the appeal was there for beer drinkers. If they're looking for something a little different, then they're going to reach out and, at least try the Trouble Brewing Company pack, because it's something they haven't had before. Definitely, I have not seen it before, but I also don't shop Walmart that often for beer. So, it kind of was just like a one-off purchase. I would normally not go there, because for one thing, if you're like purchasing beer in a supermarket, they never have any deals on it. So there's not really an incentive to go to Walmart, because like you said, they have a terrible selection for one thing, and you're not even going to get a good price on it.
The one year they had the 1 year, it was like 3 years ago, they had Jenny Bach there for when it was in season.
Yeah.
And I got there because they had it for, I had no idea why. It was $5.24 12-pack. Mm-hmm. They had regular Jenny, like the cream ale and the light 12-packs there, like $8.99. The Bach, for some reason, is like $5.24. I bought like 2 cases of them. I'm like, I'm stocked up for a while now. I don't know why they did it, but there's like the 1 year they had, and they haven't had since, so. Yeah. But yeah, other than that, their prices are pretty, on the same as, every other place around here.
Yeah, basically. So if you're looking for a deal or something, they don't have it. But
granted, if I was out in Utica, I would go to Walmart, because they have Old Milwaukee there, and it's $9.99 for an 18-pack, and you can't get Old Milwaukee around here.
Can't beat that.
So I would...
The Trouble Brewing Company beer, the 12-pack, was under $14. I know that. So it's not bad. Not a bad price for it. And, I mean, I think that it's worth it for you to at least try it. I don't think anybody's going to come out of this saying, like, wow, I really pissed away my money on this one.
But you're not going to at the same time go, wow, I'm going to buy this.
Right, no, I don't know if you would search it out, like, consistently. Like, I've got to get Trouble Brewing Company yet again. And I don't think that I really would either. But at the same time, I think it's pretty drinkable. I think if they marketed maybe like the pale ale as sort of like a session pale ale or something like that, it may even attract some more people to it. Because I think it's pretty light anyway. It's I don't think it has a high alcohol content.
No, it does. It's
does it really?
I know the white ale is like 5.7. the Belgian white.
Yeah, I mean, this one, the red flag, the amber ale is only 4.2, which is on the low spectrum for,
an amber.
especially for an amber.
Let me see. I thought I could have swore I remember the pale ale being kind of high.
Yeah, the
5.3. So it's
so it's on average, yeah.
little above average.
And the Cat's Away IPA was 5.8. So that's on the higher scale as well for the IPA. So yeah, so I think maybe if they were to tone down the alcohol content on the pale ale or the IPA and market it as a session, they might have a little bit more leeway to get away with like some of the lesser flavor aspects to some of those.
No, I agree. If the Cat's Away was a session IPA, it'd fit more of the profile.
Yeah, I think they could definitely do something with that. Looking on Untappd, I didn't really see any other styles besides the 4 that are in this pack, except for a Hefeweizen, which no one had checked into. So I have to assume that may be a mistake or something like that. I didn't.
Or as I said,
no one likes Hefeweizens.
Get that shit out of here.
Yeah. So I mean, I would be interested if there are any around to just at least give that a shot. But I'm not a huge fan of the style anyway. So.
It's whether there's a new Hefeweizen in the Sam's summer pack, and I'm like,
yeah, but I wonder if it has the banana profile or more of a citrusy orange profile.
It doesn't matter.
Either way, you're not interested.
Yeah, no, thank you. Pass. We'll see you in fall.
It's true. All right, so Trouble Brewing Company, it's okay. You probably wouldn't seek it out.
No, never again.
You wouldn't get it again.
I would never.
I mean, you didn't get it this time, but you wouldn't. You wouldn't like go out and buy it for yourself.
Call me out there.
No.
Oh, I did have. This is a little sidebar because on Monday I went to a place around here called Dinosaur Barbecue. It's a pretty well known upstate New York barbecue place. It used to just
popular in Syracuse.
Originally in Syracuse, and now they got a location in Troy and I think a few other places. Mm-hmm. I went to one in Troy. I've been there a couple of times, but I remember, I think when I first went there, when I was in college, they didn't have their own, house beer, but they had on tap there, what they call their Dinosaur 8-Panger, which is a pale ale, and I'd say that was pretty good. Originally, because I didn't actually get enough time to look at the menu, as soon as I sat down, the waitress was like, "Hi, what can I get you to drink?" I was like, "Sam Adams," because when they don't, I don't know if people know this, but if you ever sit down at a restaurant and you're just like, you don't even get to open the menu. If the waiter or waitress shows up, if I don't have time to look at a drink and see like what I actually want, I'll just say I at least say the first thing that I want. I won't be like, "Oh, hold on, let me look and peruse," you know.
Yeah, you have a thing about that.
Well, I just don't want to be like an asshole and be like, "Oh, really? We just sat down."
I totally will just say.
I know that's how you are. Yeah. But so she was like, "What do you want to drink?" And I was like, "Sam Adams," but they didn't have anymore. So
you got a chance.
Well, it was good too because the Sam Adams was on tap. It was $5 for a bottle of it. Yeah, so, and it was it said $3.50 on the menu, but they got charged $5 a piece for the 8-Panger.
Oh.
But anyway, it was good. I liked it quite a bit because it's like we've said before in the podcast. It was a pale ale that actually tasted like a pale ale, not an IPA. It had a nice hoppiness to it, but it wasn't very hoppy. The malt and the hop, balanced out perfectly, and you could drink it and tell that it leaned more to like a traditional English pale ale instead of
Yeah, and it's made by Middle Ages, which does do a pretty good English pale ale in general. They do the Impaled Ale, which is English pale ale, and I really like that style. So I think that they probably would do a good job. I've never had the 8-Panger before because I actually have never been to Dinosaur Barbecue.
It's delicious,
but
it's expensive. But
I'm sure
you get your fucking money's worth. Yeah. Because I got a brisket sandwich, and it was it had like a Kentucky style barbecue on it, and it came with bacon, which I didn't read it well enough. I didn't think I knew there was going to be like some cheese on it, but I didn't see the bacon part. So I got it. I was like, I got surprise bacon.
Yeah,
Jesus Christ! And it came out like a nice roll, and I ordered 2 sides with like a coleslaw and mac and cheese, and their mac and cheese is great. So, but
Yeah.
And I finally got to use the line with our friend Matt, because I always say it to him, because he's never seen the movie Life. You ever see the movie Life with Martin Lawrence, Eddie Murphy?
No.
They get convicted for a crime they didn't, a murder they didn't commit, and they get sentenced to life. Oh, it's hilarious. Terrific late 90s comedy film. Anyway, there's a scene in the movie where there's one of the guys is yelling at Martin Lawrence if he's going to eat his cornbread. And Martin's like, no, you can have my cornbread. And Mark's like, fuck that guy. Fuck that asshole. That's your cornbread. If he wants more cornbread, he gets his own cornbread. And the guy just goes, maybe I'll eat your cornbread. So I always say that to him. Like when he's like, if I want to pick something off his meal, I'd be like, maybe I'll eat your cornbread. It was great. Because I didn't get a corn muffin with my thing. But he got a quarter rack of ribs. So he got a corn muffin with his. I love me some, cornbread and corn muffins, so.
Yeah. So someday I'll get there.
Well, we can go,
Yeah.
one of these days.
I don't know.
I took a day off in July.
All right. So that's our beer talk for today. Trouble Brewing Company also covered the Dinosaur Barbecue ape hanger. Check them out. At least the ape hanger. The Trouble Brewing, you may or may not like. It's Walmart special.
And even if you don't like the ape hanger, their dinosaurs food is fucking great.
Yeah. Come on down to upstate New York / Syracuse area and get yourself some. Be a good old time. All right, we'll take a commercial break, and then we'll come right back with Jeepers Creepers.
Thank you for seeing me today, Doctor.
Of course. I see you're having some issues.
Yeah, it all started when I ran out of podcasts to listen to. I felt anxious, alone, and even scared.
It happens all too often. Podcast deficiency disorder. It can be a serious struggle with no answer in sight. Until now.
Introducing Nerdy Words from Geek Productions. Through intense peer review studies, the Nerdy Words team have developed the perfect formula to finally defeat all symptoms of PDD.
With just one episode a week, your feelings of helplessness through lack of podcast satisfaction will be a thing of the past. With heavy doses of off-the-cuff, barely put-together thoughts about all things nerdy and beyond, your PDD will melt away.
Side effects include frustration at hosts' inability to accurately quote facts, annoyance at their often bitchy attitudes, and inability to understand them through their drunken slurs every 5 episodes. Do not listen if you're nursing, pregnant, or may become pregnant.
Comics, movies, anime, video games, and much, much more with Nerdy Words. Fridays on acepodcastnetwork.com.
Who am I?
A very bad impression of Justin Long.
Yeah, you've got a better one.
Yeah.
You do it pretty well.
I'm not one to be braggadocious.
I mean, yours is exaggerated in Jeepers Creepers because watching it, he doesn't do it like nonstop like you make it out to be.
Well,
but
that's part of the nostalgia for me, because I remember so much more of him just be like, we go. Yeah.
it's funny how your memory is like completely incorrect in that sense.
But he is like that. But like I said, I think the whole part of comedy, Ryan, is you take something and you exaggerate it.
That is true.
So
No, I agree. I mean, yes. So in Jeepers Creepers, Justin Long and Gina Phillips, there really are two main characters that we get throughout most of the film. I mean, there's not that many other people in this film besides the Creeper. And I think that in order to really feel immersed in this film, you have to at least like the characters a little bit. Do you find that you like Justin Long's character, Derry, not Daryl, as the subtitles seem to suggest, but Derry, in this film?
kind of.
Yeah.
But then in the same, Gina, she's so much of like a bitch that she's pretty hard to like.
Yeah.
And then Justin Long as Derry, I mean, is so. At the same time, I get what they're going for. Like the whole exasperated, don't know what to do, shock reaction. Like that. Obviously, if you're put in a situation where you fall down a fucking pipe and you see like hundreds of bodies sewn up, you would probably be out the gate going like, this is fucking awful. You'd be like that. You wouldn't be like, wow, this is fucking, yeah, like, again.
No, maybe I would, though. I can kind of see myself just falling down there and being like, whoa, this is trippy.
I mean, some people might, but I imagine most people would probably, what am I gonna do?
Yeah.
So I mean, like, I understand, like, it's like, hey, it's going for a more realistic thing, but at the same time, it's comedic, because again, he's just like, when, like, anytime he's in a scene like that, he's just like, eyes wide open, like, they gotta hammer home to you, like, Jeepers Creepers, where'd you get those peepers? So his eyes are wide open, his mouth's agape, just going, yeah.
I think that Jeepers Creepers, as a film, like, you do have to like its main characters, but you don't have to love them. I think more so, you just have to kind of be able to get into the realism of the idea of the story. So it's pretty simple, really. Two kids coming home from college on a road trip, kind of taking the scenic route.
Why?
Why? On a dangerous highway that people know potentially someone died on, and they were decapitated. This was obviously years ago, about 20 years ago, but both characters know that there has been a murder on this highway, about 100 miles from where they are, but at the same time, still a little weird. Taking a scenic back route, that's probably Hicksville country.
And an old shitty car.
Yeah, and an old terrible transmission car. Coming home from college, brother and sister. Nothing weird about that. Just both going to the same college, both very close, taking a road trip. And
yeah, I don't like their relationship.
It's a bit weird. But but they're coming home, and they get stopped by they get pursued by this crazy truck driver driving near, like, almost like a tank style vehicle.
1935 like paddy wagon.
Yeah, exactly. And noticing that he could be potentially hauling around a lot of dead bodies and throwing them into his little lair. And really, that's it. That's the main storyline.
Now, my question is, because his license plate is beating you or eating you.
Yeah.
Beating you.
Eating you.
Yeah. It's a specialty plate, right? Novelty plate.
Right, exactly.
How the fuck this,
Well, he applied at the local DMV like anybody else would.
I was going to say, like, is it like in backwoods Florida? It's normal for some
It's normal.
gray-skinned, bat-looking man, half Spawn, half something from the X-Men to show up, like, me like, got a plate I need.
Well, perhaps someone else had a stupid vanity plate called "Be Eating You," and they took it from there. Or some douchebag teenager had it. Literally, it was supposed to mean "beating you." It was like a bully scenario, and he's like, "Well, I could take that for myself," and he stuck it on his little beat up old paddy.
I know,
wagon.
but if it's technically supposed to be eating you,
yeah,
it, like, the whole teenager thing would fall flat, because we all know a teenager's not gonna eat pussy. He's selfish.
No, I'm saying that the teenager, as a bully, meant it to be beating you, as Justin Long mistakenly refers to it. And then
I love that in 2001 they're still playing, like, the plate game.
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah. Oh, and if we're going to bring up the plate game, they do bring up the whole, there's one plate that they see right at the beginning that Justin Long mistakes for gay fever or gay forever. And for
2001 people.
Yeah, 2001. But Gina Phillips' character Trish finds it to be sexy forever or something like that. It's like, no, 6A doesn't really make up sexy to me. 6A.
Yeah, no, I think
that's stretching it. I think gay fever is probably the more obvious choice on that, even though she clearly points out that it's a 6, not a G. At the same time, I think gay fever really works in that scenario.
This is like in the Twilight, like not Twilight, I'm using that word wrong. In the dawn of, like, like internet, like noob,
this sort of stylized numbers and letters wording. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's pretty progressive for the time. But yeah, I think that the storyline for Jeepers Creepers is really simple, and I think that's a strong suit for the film. I don't think it needs to be super complex or complicated. And honestly, I think that first part of the film works the best. The part where they're being pursued on the highway. They do stop off at the creeper's lair and kind of see everything that he's been doing, see the almost supernatural element to the creeper before they really know anything about him. And that's a tense part. There's a lot of things that Victor Salva's channeling in that beginning, like Duel, Steven Spielberg's Duel, very prominent in that first part where they're being chased by the truck. And I think that's a really good suspenseful scene. It's something that I wish that Jeepers Creepers had done a little bit more with.
It's good when you have Justin Miller trying!
Yeah.
Trying! Terry! Yeah. No.
Justin Long just freaking out.
They're both freaking out.
Yeah.
I mean, Gina Phillips is like at the same level of,
No, I would not put her on the same level as Justin Long in this film.
No, because she's more wooden.
Wooden, but also she does have better reactions, with facial reactions. Her expressions are a lot more nuanced than Justin Long's, like, I'm wide-eyed. Obviously, I'm nervous. Obviously, I'm scared. Or, like, the mouth open with the tongue flapping out, like, I don't know what to do with myself.
Rats!
Right, yeah. Yeah. I think that, in this case, Gina Phillips is a lot more nuanced. Even though, yeah, she is kind of wooden.
I wouldn't say, I don't think nuanced.
I think her facial expressions are much
I think the
more
fact
nuanced.
that she's wooden negates any idea of nuance. You can't be nuanced and wooden at the same time.
Her delivery is kind of wooden. But as I was saying, her facial expressions, the way that she portrays things, I think compared to Justin Long, you have a lot more sort of room to figure out, like, oh, maybe she's not just feeling like total scared, or and then at the same time, it's funny that at certain points along the film, Justin Long's character is forced to say things like, I'm so scared, Trish. It's like, no fucking shit you are. I mean, you basically have the point where your drool is hanging out of your mouth because you can't even, like,
you can't
function
emote
at this time. It's pretty funny, and I don't necessarily blame Justin Long for those issues. I think part of it too is the direction. Victor Salva at a certain point needs to step in and say, Justin, this is the same exact expression you've been wearing for the entire film. Like, this is 40... let me go back through the reel. 40 minutes of you with your mouth open.
Know what his facial expressions are? They're Zoolander.
Yeah.
With, like, this is Blue Steel, this is Magnum, and they're every look from, Derek Zoolander's there. That's Justin Long in this, it's like, okay, Justin, give me happy. Give me sad. Give me frightened. It's the same.
It's pretty much. I think that it really comes out in that scene where he's in the church basement where he's looking at all the bodies, and that's really like, because in those moments, Victor Salva doesn't really cut away from Justin Long either. He's kind of like stuck on him. It's kind of a silent moment where we're supposed to see what Justin Long is seeing by looking at his face and knowing, like, wow, this must be really bad. But in that, it doesn't really work out so well because he doesn't have much of an expression whatsoever. It's just kind of like mouth agape, eyes wide. At that point, what is he looking at? It's maybe it's like a poster, a Baywatch poster or something on the wall. Yeah, it's tits on the wall, and he's like, whoa, And the same thing that happens when he sees Darla's body. That's the woman that supposedly was killed back 20 years ago.
With her boyfriend.
With her boyfriend. She's plastered on the wall, and she's naked. And maybe he is just looking at it like, wow, Darla, she may be dead, decapitated, her head sewn back on, but damn, she has some good tits on there. And you can't really tell because there's no subtlety to, like, Justin Long's expression. It's always the same thing, just mouth wide open.
I love it too that they're wearing, like, the class ring. Like, yeah, that's how you know they're from the 70s. They actually bothered to buy a fucking.
They had a class ring. Yeah, their hands clasped together. But you got to admit, in this scenario, the creepers are romantic. Why keep them together like that? Everybody else is just pinned to the wall. Like, I don't give a shit. They're naked, pinned to the wall, whatever. But the couple there, the prom king and queen or whatever they were supposed to be, they're together. They're holding hands. They've got their ring. He's a romantic through and through, I think, and he meant to do that. It was intentional. But yeah, I think that opening scene is probably some of the best that Jeepers Creepers has to offer. It's tense towards the beginning. The one thing that I will say that doesn't really work in the film's favor is the Creeper's stupid beeping. Because it's way over the top. Because it has the same sound effect, but it doesn't really make sense. Like, it's like he's got a novelty horn at that point.
And it sounds like it's supposed to go with the score, not that he's actually, honking.
Yeah, honking his
Because
horn,
the way they pair the score during those scenes and then the horn blasting, it sounds like they're like doing the score.
It's rhythmic.
And it's rhythmic, and someone's in the back, like, of the symphony, like, going, playing, like, like... It's like, fucking like Vuvuzela or whatever. Like,
yeah, it's like, but it's rhythmic.
Yeah, because it's like,
yeah, that's the thing that gets me about that scene. I don't think it really comes off as scary more than it is kind of laughable because of that honking. That
just makes him sound like an angry truck driver, like that, like that.
I would be more okay with just the regular honking of a horn, like a regular truck horn, just like kind of air horn out of nowhere sort of thing. But when it has that rhythmic quality to it, where it's actually like two notes being played, it sounds like, again, the Creeper went out to the store and was like, or to like the garage and was like, you know what I need? I need a specialty air horn.
It would be great. It would be great if he had like the fucking Dukes of Hazzard horn, like.
Yeah. Well, that's almost what it's like.
No, actually, no. That's like garage. I'd be like.
Yeah. It's what it is, but it's not the theme, but it is a rhythmic specialty horn. It sounds like he got it custom modified. But again, too, that's another thing Justin Long brings up is like his truck's traveling so fast. Apparently. Got to be going like if Justin's driving that old beat up car at like 70, 80 miles per hour, then the Creeper's got to be going at least 100 in that old
souped up or something.
Souped up truck. So he had to also go and get it souped up somewhere.
He learned the mechanics of it
over the years, and he's the other okay.
Because
we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Well, let's say because he only feasts every 23rd spring for 23 days. So maybe in that downtime, he's learning like, all right, how do I convert this engine into a nice Dodge Cumis V8 engine?
Yeah,
I want to do some truck pulling too.
Yeah, while I'm not hungry, I'm going to be making money on the side.
I'm going down to the truck pulls, at the local.
Hey, in that country,
at the local dirt track.
The town of Poho, it doesn't seem out of place, to be honest with me. I think that the film, as it goes along, as we start to see the Creeper more and more, it gets a lot cheesier as it goes on.
The mystique is gone pretty quick.
Yeah, the Creeper itself works a lot better either when you think that he's just a regular dude who's really creepy, who's been murdering people on this road, or when you know that he's a supernatural being but you don't get to see him. Because I think that the opening shots of him where he's just throwing bodies into the pit, I think that works pretty well because from that perspective, you can only really tell like it's a weird dude who is wearing a big hat and kind of looks countryish.
Yeah, trench coat.
At that point, he's just a weird guy. You can't really see any detail to him.
No, it is what ruins it is though they're like fucking hundreds of feet away from there. Like, he's throwing something down that pipe. You can tell that, and they're tied in rope. How can you see that? And I saw blood. Again, how can you see that? I know I have bad eye vision, and I haven't been blessed with sight.
Yeah.
But from the distance they are from, like, where he's doing that, like, how can, like, does he have, like, Justin Long have, like, 20/10 vision?
He must, yeah. It was pretty far when you first see, like, the perspective.
Yeah.
Here's the church, and here's him throwing the bodies in.
And where they're driving.
Yeah.
It's like...
even then, like when they get up closer, at that point the creeper stops because he sees them going by, and he doesn't like throw any more bodies in. So there's no way for them now at that close distance to see what he was doing. Yeah. But I mean, it's a small nitpick, but at the same time, yeah, it is kind of annoying. But I think like once we get further into the film and the creeper's actual face and identity becomes known, it gets infinitely more cheesy.
It's off the rails.
Yeah.
It's Spawn. It's literally they took Spawn and like Mr. Sinister or something from X-Men. Like, here's our villain. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the reason...
And Man-Bat from, like, Batman.
Yeah, pretty much. He's basically like a bat figure, bird figure, but also sort of like a super villain sort of thing. It almost has a super villain quality to it. Like I said, something like from X-Men or something. And that kind of takes away from it, especially the makeup on the face. It's bad. That's the worst part of the creeper, I think, to me.
Terrible.
Yeah, I think it's
not even like creepy or scary. It's like it's, and not only that, and then when you compound the fact like you get that great early 2000 CGI for like his like bat wings, and like when it pops up, it's like that looks awful.
Yeah. It only gets worse. Like, I think Jeepers Creepers 2 is even worse because it does give you even more shots of the creeper actually, like, dead on. You can actually see everything about the creeper. It takes away the mystery of it. Like I said, with the beginning, there's that sort of mystique because you can't see anybody in the truck. So he's kind of kept a secret. You can only see, really, that he's a guy. You don't know anything supernatural about him at the beginning. But as it keeps going along, Salva's character starts to blossom out of control. Now you have this guy who only comes out every 23rd spring for 23 days. So now you're left with like there's a background to him that you don't really understand. Like, why is it 23 days? Why is it 23 springs? Why?
Because he's a demon and Jesus put certain rules on him.
And what is he supposed to do within that time period between then? Like every 20, he just doesn't do anything at that time. He hibernates.
We already discussed that. He's learning, auto mechanics.
Yeah, right, exactly. And then you also have, now he needs to consume things in order to do what?
To regenerate, to
regenerate,
to extend his life is what it's,
Yeah, but at the same time, like, why does it have to be specific body parts? Why does he want specific eyes? Why does he want a specific spleen every time? What is the point of it? Why not just seek out the most, whatever is available? Or harvest the most from someone.
It's not even like he's basing it off like their health too. It's off their fear, like the fear they feel when he tests them.
It's not. It like makes no difference in this scenario. Like, why? It's just basically a device.
And not only that, it's not like they're like he went like spent like half the movie like trying to scare Justin Long. Gina Phillips to like kind of figure out which one he wants. It's just in the beginning, basically.
Yeah.
So there's not enough detail there to like make the whole background interesting. I think it would have been a lot more interesting if they spent more time like kind of detailing that. Like, why does he base it off fear? Like, what does he get out of it? Obviously it's hinted like it's pleasure for him. Like, and like he enjoys like because obviously when you watch the film, like Gina's got Trish, she's much stronger. Like she stays like more firm and
smarter
and smarter, but when she's getting like thrown with these things, she's not like like that. Yeah. She's more like especially when you see at the end how she's willing to sacrifice herself, where Justin Long is like just constantly, I don't know what to do. So maybe for him, he may need those eyes to regenerate his eyes. But for him, it's the taste and the enjoyment of like the fear that he feels compared to what she feels is what makes the hunt for him. But again, they don't explain enough. I agree with that. It's just totally like, here's some little. Like if they weren't gonna bother explaining it, you didn't really have to have that. Then you could just have like he just picks certain people
and he just wants them and he just chases them down. Yeah, that's all you need, really.
You don't need to know why. That's just his MO.
Yeah.
Because if you're not going to bother to spend the time to really invest and explain and show it, then yeah, you're right. There's no point.
I think what happens with the main cop guy, where he eats his tongue, it doesn't even make sense either, because that negates the whole purpose of going out to find someone specifically. So if he wanted that tongue, then why didn't he track someone down with the perfect tongue that he could scare?
Well, he did when he pick up his head and sniff it in like the...
True.
And all that, like, because that's part of his thing. Like, so maybe, like, when he was dying, he's like, oh, that scent of fear I can smell it.
Yeah.
But again, like you said, they don't explain enough, like, how this whole connection and thing works. So it's like, all right, he's just doing it so we can have this creepy little shot of, like,
I think
a silhouette shot of him, like, is he kissing the head? No, he's eating his tongue.
Yeah, I think it's just more so a device to explain why specifically they end up...
Yeah, Justin Long and Gina are getting targeted.
Yeah, they're targeted, and then eventually why Derry's the one that's taken rather than, Trish or even Giselle, who doesn't have any... she has an interaction with the Creeper, but nothing happens to her. So it's really a plot device, and I think that's where Jeepers Creepers really slips up in that probably the second and third act, where it unnecessarily expands the film, for one thing. We don't need the entire police station battle scene. It's over the top.
The third act in this is the most miserable part.
Yeah, it definitely is.
It's an exposition dump.
Yep.
With Giselle, which we didn't even talk about. Giselle, played by Patricia Belcher.
Yeah.
As fucking call me now for your free tarot card reading, Miss Cleo.
Yeah. Psychic person who has dreams about what happens.
And of course, because she's psychic, everything she talks about has to be about in vague terms,
Yeah.
Of like, didn't you see the cats? I like the cats. Like, what cats? The cats, you'll see the cats.
My favorite part of this film, by far, is when Giselle calls
the
diner with Trish and Derry grabs the phone, and she's saying all these things like, have you seen the cats? And
not explaining it.
Well, not only that, but Derry does not respond in a normal fashion. Like, have you seen the cats? You'd say, no, I haven't. What are you talking about? Not, who is this? And he says it multiple times, like almost as though the dialogue in those scenes was not paired correctly, because the responses that he's giving don't make any sense to the questions or what is said. I love that.
She's like talking, and all of a sudden, like, listen to this song for a second. Jeepers, it's like, and you're like, what the fuck are you doing? What do you mean? Like, bye.
That's another great response from Justin Long, though. He's like, okay.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but just trying to explain to him like all the visions. She's like, listen to this song. If you hear this song, run. And they play Jeepers Creepers. And he's like, okay. What do you mean?
Yeah.
And she's like, again, I hate it when they films have oracles in them and they're just giving you the
gist of what's happening
and the runaround. Like it's it's just. I get the idea that if you're supposed to be an oracle, for the most part, you have these vague premonitions, so you can't explicitly tell everything. But the fact that she's literally giving the whole fucking movie away, but again, in this very just generic, vague, and at the same time yelling, like...
Right, because at that point, if you say, have you been with the cats yet? You could at least go into a little bit more detail, like, the cats are coming out of the house. You were at a house, at a house in the dark. 'Cause you don't need to just give out one small detail about there were cats, and then you have to kind of figure out I mean, I guess I could be with a cat. My mom has one. I don't know. Yeah, it does seem like yet another device to give out exposition to explain the Creeper.
That goes nowhere.
Yeah, it doesn't go anywhere. That's the thing. It doesn't go anywhere because even though Giselle is supposed to be trying to help them, nothing matters for what she does.
And not only that, she's like, you probably won't believe me. It's like, then why fucking bother? If you're sitting there like, I know you're not gonna believe what I'm gonna tell you, but I had to come. Then it's like, well, why'd you come? Stay at home.
Yeah.
Be like, well, those damn kids, they're gonna die, but
they're gonna die.
This happens every fucking 23 years. Apparently, no one's ever seen the Creeper.
No one's ever seen the Creeper, though he lives on a very busy highway and has been dropping off bodies into the church crypt for...
Not only that, he shows up to the police station at the end, and the police station's like they're all still alive, and like the next day they're all acting.
It was business as usual.
Like
nothing
nothing
happened. Criminals, like the entire like second floor windows blown out, but no, everybody's just like, well,
you know, 5 officers die in the line of duty fighting this thing. No, next day, literally it's the next day at the same station, business as usual.
Yeah, book that guy. Whatever, he's trying to steal another car. The Poho the Poho police station is pretty busy considering it's like a very small county, and I'm assuming nothing else happens besides. But they did assemble that SWAT team pretty quickly, which is pretty much the case in any film that needs to have a SWAT team. It's like they're on call.
Well, just imagine Die Hard if it took,
right, or Death Wish. SWAT teams aplenty in that one. Saw.
Yeah, the SWAT team in Saw.
Epitome of like SWAT
teams on call 24/7. Like,
and also
they just get back from a mission. Like, well, lace back up, boys. We're going. I mean, I know it's like literally how I know how it's a quick response, but like at the same time.
Well, and because that's talked about in that one, there was like all across cities.
Yeah,
like in massive cities. Like, well, head on over to the other side of the city where.
A city that should have multiple precincts. No, it's the same one SWAT. There were budget cuts, so they just have the
SWAT team responding to every single mission. Yeah, so it's the same thing with Jeepers Creepers. But yeah, we didn't talk about this, but the other thing that bugs me is the presence of the song Jeepers Creepers, which is really there for no reason besides the title tie-in and to sort of clue the viewer in, like he's coming. It's thrown at you in such a haphazard way, like
and heavy-handed.
Not only does Giselle tell them and the viewer specifically look out for this song, but then in every single scene where the song is playing, the characters have to mention it, like, "Oh, that's the song! The song is playing!" There's no like subtlety to it. Of just like hearing it slightly, like it sounds like that might be on the radio, playing and something's happening. No, it's clearly blocked out for you. Like, oh yeah, no, actually, the creeper's attacking right behind our characters. In the car behind them. So that is another thing again that just complicates the creeper in a way that's super unnecessary. Like, why?
And the fact that he's like whistling it.
Yeah, why?
This demonic being is just walking around going.
Yeah, why? First of all, why do it? It doesn't even really match up with what the creeper's MO is besides going after Justin Long for his eyes, because it's specifically about peepers. I don't understand it. It seems like a total waste of a tune just to get to a title.
Well, maybe because they're like, well, we paid this amount of money for this song.
Yeah,
we better fucking get our money's worth.
I guess, because it just seems like it's so out of place within the film itself. And just heavy-handed whenever it does come on. There's no nuance to it where the viewer has any attempt to like pick it out and say like, ooh, I think something bad's going to happen. No, something bad's going to happen because they tell you. They tell you specifically. What else you got? What else do you want to talk about?
Don't you just love what the scene I have the fondest of memories of is the whole them running over the damn creeper.
Oh yeah, car. Absolutely,
fucking hilarious. It's great because at first when they try like to run him over, he's like fucking like Hong Kong action. Warrior jumping over the car. It's not even like he's like doing a flip or jumping over. No, he's like jumping and hovering in the air over the car, but then like his feet are touching it, and then like.
Yeah, I think that's really funny, because there's no real.
He knows kung fu too.
But at the same time, the car's not even going very fast.
No,
so it's not that hard to even just jump out of the way of it. It's not like it's meant to be some sort of like, oh my god, she's speeding at me. I have no chance to react to it. But I think like it just seems very silly all around. But then yes, when you add in like the wire jumping too, that just makes it 10 times more ridiculous than it already is. But yeah, he does even do a flip, I think, at one point, doesn't he? He does like some sort of flip off the car
It's
or something.
like fucking like okay, here's our John Woo,
Yeah.
style, jumping. Like for what reason? For no reason, but it's like
For no reason,
And not only
because
that-
he can
and-
also fly.
And not only that, her, Trish decides she's going to try to trick him by acting like the transmission stalled. And again, you get some great acting from Justin Long. They're like, what are you doing? What are you doing? We gotta go. While she's like sitting there, come on, you bitch, you motherfucking bitch, come on. He literally takes like 2 steps to the car, and that was enough for him to get fooled and not jump, and react in time to get run over by the car.
Yeah.
It's like, it's literally not like, they, like, the distance, like, closed even further. No, like, he's like 2 steps closer now. Like, alright,
Yeah.
that's enough to hit him. And then, it's even just funnier, and like, Justin Long, like, is he dead? They never are! And then she just, like, backs over him and, like, a couple of times. But when she's like, they never are, you can just cue CSI Miami, like, yeah!
True, yeah. I mean, you do have to give it to Jeepers Creepers is a little bit smarter than your average horror film in that it understands the meta.
No, I'm not saying it's bad, because I do think it's funny, and I think it's,
Yeah.
like I said, I'm not kidding when I say it's like one of the better and good scenes, because it's campy, but at the same time it's meta in the right way, in the right sense on the commentary for it. So
Yeah, I think so.
I think that works really well. I think that I think that's really cool. I think like the only stupid as stupid as like the whole wire jumping is, and the trick that like gets him run over, and how it's like, well, it shouldn't really make a difference. I still think it works. I still think it's a pretty funny but very enjoyable scene. And
Yeah, I think it works. It's not the only time where we have that meta commentary either. When Justin Long's character Derry's getting into the pipe, she's kind of like, how in a horror movie you root against the character because they're doing something stupid. Well, this is it. So I think it does have that smartness to it, and it understands, when the characters are doing something stupid and when it needs to like comment on that.
Even that, like when they're first get chased and nearly run off the road by the creeper, they're like, oh, this is the kind of car a serial killer would have.
Right.
Yeah.
You kind of have that commentary, which I do like. It understands, past horror films and kind of works off of that. So that's nice to have. Do you think that Derry's supposed to be gay in this film? There are a lot of connotations to sort of a, gay subtext.
No. I don't really see it.
No.
Just because he said gay fever, I don't think.
Yeah, but that's not the only thing. He also,
What, you're talking about the rose, his little front tramp stamp of a rose?
Not just that, but he does have that strange rose. I mean, that's a very weird detail from Victor Salva. That's very strange to just have a rose tattoo. I don't know.
Around his belly button.
It's weird. But there's also that scene where he's talking about his pink dyed underwear that's in the laundry room, and Trish says, "Are you sure they're not telling you something about yourself?" And there's a couple different references to it that I think are they come from Salva's own experiences because he is as a gay man. But it's just interesting to me that I think that's trying to come out a little bit within the film. So
you're saying the film's a critique on how the gay community is attacked by the general public?
Possibly. No, but I think
there's some deep hidden meaning here. Hidden meaning here about how
there is certainly while we do see quite a few women victims, they're mostly males, and when we see the photos of the missing people, they're all male. So it seems as though the creeper not only targets people that he smells fear in, but they're almost always male. So it is interesting in that sense to have a villain that's always targeting a male population that may or may not be gay at times. So it's interesting. I'm not saying, I think that's just kind of a subtextual thing, comes out from Victor Salva's own.
Yeah, but they wouldn't make sense then.
Subconscious, but
the two main, victims is Peggy Sue, and
Darla and
Yeah.
the other guy. Well, you could always say that Darla was really not the target, but just happened to be in the way.
but why would she be sewn together with him?
Because he just has fun after. It's his version of taxidermy.
Well, obvious.
Yeah.
But I'm just.
No, I'm not saying I really believe that, but I think that it's an interesting concept within the film itself, that there are those moments of where you see, even just the wall of missing people is just all male. It's all male. There's not even a female.
I didn't pay enough
Yeah,
attention to
it's
that,
just, it's an interesting
to pick it up.
tidbit. It's not something that I think comes out, but it's more of a subtextual reference or unconscious decision. But interesting all the same that I wanted to bring it up.
Well, maybe if it was a different writer, like someone that's more known to have a clever film, I'd be like, maybe this is a subtext, like the demon is the Christian church and they're
maybe
going after,
executive producer Francis Ford Coppola was pushing for it. No, I'm just kidding. But, it is surprising that Coppola would put his name and money towards something like Jeepers Creepers. It's an odd decision, obviously predicated on the fact that they're friends, really.
I was going to say, it's not like he was really doing much at the time.
No, that's true.
But to be fair, after Coppola made 4 of the greatest films in the 70s. In Godfather Part 2, The Conversation, and Apocalypse Now. He could have just called it quits after that and be like, all right, I had my fun. Bye.
Yeah.
So, but, early 2000s, he wasn't really doing much. So, you're right. I don't understand. I never really paid attention to the fact that he executive produced it. That never stuck out to me. So, until you kind of brought that up today, I didn't really have that in my mind, of something that he's been associated with. But, no, you're right. I do, think it is weird that he's like, I'll be,
Yeah, I'll be producing this and associating American Zoetrope with this.
Yeah.
It's I think it probably just has to do with them being friends and needing
backer.
Yeah, basically, to get it sold and to get it into theaters and things like that. But it's funny just to see Francis Ford Coppola listed on something of this ilk, because it's not really that common for him to be associated with a horror film.
Dracula.
Yeah, but even then, that's more of an artistic style
in Gothic.
film. Whereas Jeepers Creepers, I wouldn't really say it's artistic or has much merit outside of just being a horror slasher film. It doesn't go any further than that, and I don't know if that's generally the norm with Coppola stuff, but interesting all the same.
What do you think of the Creepers' overall look?
Yeah, I think
because it's not only a slasher film; it is a monster film.
It is a monster film as well. I don't really enjoy any of the Creeper once we get into the second and third act and see a lot more of him. When he's in the hat, when he's kind of in his trench coat outfit, I'm fine with that. I'm cool. I think that looks pretty cool. I think it would work well if that's all we ever saw of him, of a very veiled Creeper. Not something that goes more, that's outwardly beast-like, like what we get with the Creeper later on, when he becomes a sort of bat bird-like creature. I don't think that it works very well. It doesn't maintain the tension that the original portion of it when he was kept veiled does. So I don't like it. I'm okay with him being able to fly and everything like that. That doesn't bug me, and I almost kind of do like the idea that he's sort of like a bat man. But I would much rather have him be a lot less present, in terms of we seeing him explicitly. I don't like that. And that pretty much holds true to most horror films where there's a mysterious figure that eventually becomes more explicit the longer that you watch. I'm not a huge fan of that. I would rather them being left to the darkness.
The imagination. No, I agree. I think the film could even work as just a premise of it being a regular creepy guy doing shady shit like that.
Yeah.
I am fine with the fact of him being a demonic man bat. But at the same time, the more that you just get to see the makeup and what they decide to have him look like, it does get totally ruined. I think just by just by it's like, because once you finally see like how he actually looks, it's like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
you're not like, oh, that's scary. Like as I said, you look at him like, that's Spawn. He looks like Spawn.
I don't love like the hair that they added to him, like the longer hair in the back,
long white hair.
Yeah, I don't like that much. I am okay though with the more like demonic appearance when his face opens up outward.
Yeah, chud looking thing.
Yeah, like the very widespread face. I'm cool with that because I think that differentiates him a little bit more from just being like a guy with some bad makeup on or something. You know what I mean? It differentiates it a little bit.
But it's ruined though because that whole like as we said, the whole like third act and what happens in the police station is like just total fucking idiocy and bullshit.
Yeah, it's really
that
out
whole
of control.
like so when you get to the point when you're seeing him like getting ready to take Derry away, and he is trying to scare them with it's totally ruined just by the
fact that like it's so chaotic and now it's progressed down the rabbit hole too far. And I agree. I think that third act is really where Jeepers Creepers falls apart. I think it could have been a good movie, like a very good movie, if they had gone a different way with the ending and not really focus so much on the need to get parts from other people.
And not only that, you don't even need to show like I don't even think you need to show the creeper until like the very end.
No,
you could have had it like the entire film, just him stalking them.
Yeah,
and not really revealing and showing much, and then the big reveal is at the end. That's the climax when he actually gets Derry and takes him away, and you actually get to see what the creeper actually looks like. You could have had the cast going on this wild goose chase of like they do see the bodies, they do see all of that, and they're trying to convince the cops and locals of this, and then, going back there, and it's, like, oh, there's nothing here and nothing there. Like, you don't actually have to even have the creeper throughout the film, like, killing these people. You can just have him, like, tricking and playing these games with them.
Yeah.
And then people not believing them, and, which would make sense, because he's trying to, not get discovered. He wants to, be subtle.
Right.
Wants to creep. So you could totally do that, and then like have at the end where you have some kind of showdown, where it's not like at a police station. There's just police, where it's just between Justin Long, Gina Phillips, and the creeper.
Yeah,
and you go from there, and that would be 1,000 times better.
Yeah,
slow build, and slow burn. Make it more thriller than
which the beginning of it really does have a slow build, and as it goes on, you have that sort of moment where everything starts to pick up the pace because it needs to, because it's got to explain all that stuff. It's got to explain why the creeper is targeting these people. It's got to give the backstory about 23 Springs and all that other stuff. It's too much, clogs up everything, and you don't need the cops at all, because that's a really unrealistic and ridiculous scene at that point that pretty much I think only is there to increase the body count. You really just want to get as many kills in it as possible at that time, and I just, it doesn't work, and I would have rather had a more elongated but simplistic conclusion to it. So I don't know. Does it hold up to the nostalgia of what you remember when you saw it?
Not quite, no. But I wouldn't say it's nearly like as bad memory-wise as like Halloween H2O and I Know What You Did Last Summer. I would probably, out of 10 Ms. Cleo knockoffs, I'll probably give it a 6, actually.
Yeah.
I think it's a good idea. I like the idea and I like the premise of the film. I think it's just not like in the first act does work pretty good. I think though at the second act it starts to falter, and the third it totally falls apart. But I think what makes it enjoyable, I do think, though, I don't really care for Gina Phillips in this. I think she's okay. Justin Long, though, is such a terrific delight, even still. I still think he's a terrific delight in this film. Of just being campy and overacting in what he's doing. And he just chews every scene he's in. It makes that enjoy, like, you know, you can sit through and bear through the film's problems.
Yeah.
Because it is problematic. Like I said, I think if they just kind of thought more about how to tackle and approach it. Granted, I think if you did it the way I want, like I said, like how you should have done it, it wouldn't have been a slasher film. It would have been more of a, you know, a thriller, horror film. But it would have worked better, I think. I mean, I don't think... Because if you go like the slasher route that they did, I think it just ends up being another generic slasher film.
True. Yeah. Yeah, I think I gave it, the last time that I watched this, which was, you know, back in October, I think I gave it a 7, and I would agree with that. I think, you know, it's still a pretty good film, and you're right, I think Justin Long adds a lot to this, just because he is a lot of fun to watch on screen. Gives it his all, really exaggerates a lot of those performances, and, you know, while it would be nice probably to have a Jeepers Creepers film that's, like, very... grounded and you know, realistic and perhaps not as campy. It works pretty well as a campy film too. I just wish that some of the creeper effects would have been relegated to like darker scenes, so you don't see everything about him, and he's kind of left in as a mystery that you don't get to experience until even just the end of the film, or maybe even just left till Jeepers Creepers 2, where that comes out even more in that film. Like if you didn't like the creeper in Jeepers Creepers, you definitely won't like it in Jeepers Creepers 2, which just gets amped up to even higher levels of ridiculousness. But how would you... I mean, we're done with the 90s slasher month. And even though Jeepers Creepers is actually an 01 slasher film. What do you think? Where does this rank in the films that we've watched?
It's my second favorite.
Yeah.
I'm kind of surprised about my order. I would say Urban Legend. Mm-hmm. I would never have guessed Urban Legend.
I know, right?
Like the favorite, but that like just is like the perfect blend of nostalgia, being very ingrained in the 90s and embracing it.
Yep.
And actually not being that bad. It, like actually, you know. So I think Urban Legend is probably my number 1. Jeepers Creepers number 2. The Faculty number 3. I Know What You Did Last Summer, number 4, and Halloween H2O, number 5.
I completely agree. That's exactly my ranking. Just exactly what you said. I mean, Urban Legend is pretty fun just because you have all those 90s references, a lot of, like, just nostalgia for the time period, because it's heightened in that film, more so than all of the other ones that we watch. Jeepers Creepers for what we talked about. Then you have The Faculty, which it does still have the 90s references, still has a lot of the same ideas and like ridiculous names and stuff like that, but just on a smaller scale. I Know What You Did Last Summer, not a good film whatsoever, as we talked about in the previous episodes. And just very much boring and bland and, you know, obvious knockoff of Scream. Kevin Williamson did one movie very well and then tried again and just did not succeed at that point. So you can just, with I Know What You Did Last Summer, there's nothing very memorable about it. It's just a very bland, boring experience all around. And then finally, Halloween H2O, which is not only just bland and boring, but also completely horrible.
I would almost say it's the nadir of Halloween, the franchise, but it's not, because Rob Zombie's Halloween, I would say, is even worse.
I don't know about that. I don't know if I would say it's worse. It's definitely very different, but at least that one's a little bit more entertaining because of how crazy it is. Wherein Halloween H2O is just completely, it's a lackluster film all around. Doesn't even have Halloween in it very often. Doesn't work for me whatsoever. I honestly can totally see that being renamed something else. Take Michael Myers out, or like stick another mask on Michael Myers. You have a completely different film franchise.
And I was gonna say, because we didn't really mention it, I think this we did mention how Jeepers Creepers does connect to the late '90s slasher films. Because I was gonna say, I don't think we stressed it enough, because there might be some people who are like, well, how does it connect to these films? Is you got teens getting chased and killed. You got, possibly, as you hinted at, their sexual, nature. You got a mysterious, like, invincible style killer.
Yep.
Even though he's a monster. But it's still, so I think those are, like, there's enough things here that kind of connect it to...
Yeah. Even though Jeepers Creepers is relatively timeless besides that. Because there's not that much that you can connect to a time period, really. I mean, maybe the style of dress a little bit.
I would say it's pretty,
Yeah, but other than that, it's pretty timeless. There's nothing really in it that... Even like the soundtrack has no references to a time period or anything like that.
Outside of the, song Jeepers Creepers, it's, it's a symphonic score.
So it's a pretty timeless film itself. All right, so next week for the podcast, we are doing Wonder Woman, which surprisingly has been getting really good reviews. So I'm open and interested to seeing what is in store for us.
Are you sure DC didn't pay those reviewers off?
I don't know. That's a lot of money to pay 83 different reviewers. So
after Superman,
the debacle of
Batman v Superman Suicide Squad, they might,
Well, though, that we're as critics, we're never going to win with this. So if we do really like Wonder Woman, people are just going to say it's the same style of movie as Batman v Superman and Suicide Squad, and we're just now coming around because everybody says it's okay to like it.
Or we're just being hipsters and try everyone likes it. You're just you're just
gonna say that you don't like it just because. Yeah. So we're never gonna win with this. So however we feel about it,
my question is, and we'll talk about it when we watch it next week. What are the I'm just thinking about it, because I haven't read the reviews. I didn't know it was doing well until
I haven't read them either.
Until I saw that gif of like a sniper shooting at Wonder Woman. It says Rotten Tomatoes, and it fires a rotten score at her, and she bounces it off her armband. So I'm just kind of thinking what could they have done different in that film? That's they got it this time.
I'm thinking maybe it's just the storyline, really.
I know, but the direction looks the same, too.
Yeah.
At least from, the trailers that I've seen, it looks like a very, Zack Snyder-y style. And I'm not I don't like Zack Snyder. I think his direction and style for, Batman v Superman and Man of Steel, that whole, dark gray... Not, Batman's, kind of, dark and gray, but it's not to the level that it is in, being portrayed in those films, so it's... I'm just curious.
Yeah.
What they possibly could have done that's, that's total 180.
I know, I'm optimistic, so I can't wait to see it, just to see what it's all about. We've come this far. Honestly, I am not, as we've shown in the other episodes... We're not ones to root against these DC movies. I really don't want to see them fail.
No, I want to see a good Superman movie. I want to see a good Batman movie.
Yeah.
I want to see a fucking great Justice League movie. Because again, as we pointed out before, I mean, I'm not a comic. I don't read comics, as I stated before, because the canon's so big and large. It's and I'm such a completionist. It's too daunting of a task at least for me to pick up and try to figure it all out and piece it all together. So I just know what I've read online, because I am interested in the lore, but it's not and want to learn about it. But at the same time, I don't go out of my way to read the actual books because, like I said, it's just too daunting to pick up the canon. But at the same time, from all the stuff that I know and all the media, because I do watch the cartoons and all that, so. I do like DC more than I like Marvel.
Yeah.
But I would say Marvel has done a hell of a lot better of a job with its properties in the films than DC has.
Right.
And that's not like a bias. That's just like, look, it's...
Yeah, it's there, and that's the call that we're making. I mean, I don't have much experience with Wonder Woman, but I'm definitely interested to see where they go with it. So that'll be, I know we're probably going to see it like, I don't know, I would say like Sunday or something like that. Sunday or Monday. And, we'll be back with Wednesday with the, for people listening, it'll be Thursday with the podcast. So check it out. And that will be our 70th episode. So fun times. Other than that, we're done with the 90s slasher films, and we'll be moving on to other stuff after Wonder Woman. We haven't really decided that, but more to come. So thank you for listening to Blood and Black Rum Podcast. You can catch us on iTunes or Stitcher or any other podcast app that you use. We're on Facebook, and you can like us on there. Let us know what you think of the show. You can find us on Twitter. We're at Blood and Black Rum. You can tweet us on there. Hopefully you follow us, and we post some some polls and stuff like that. So keep an eye out for that sort of thing. We are on Patreon, patreon.com/Blood and Black Rum Podcast. You can donate to the show. It's a monthly donation, so keep that in mind when you sign up for it. And other than that, you can email us at bloodandblackrumpodcast@gmail.com. Let us know what you think, and let us know what any films that you want us to cover would be, so that we can incorporate those into the show. Thanks a lot for listening. Catch us next week for our Wonder Woman episode, and until then, take care.
See you later.